Ladies and gentlemen, this time, if I could kindly ask everybody to come underneath the canopy, we're going to begin the funeral services of Mr. Edward A. Samuels. Rabbi Samuel Gordon from Congregation Sukkot Shalom will be officiating. And for those of you who are here, please take a moment to be sure that your cell phone is turned off. We begin the ceremony. We are honored to have representatives from the United States Army for an honor guard. And then the rabbi will begin the ceremony after that.
States of the United States Army and a grateful nation. Please accept this flag as a symbol of appreciation for your loved one's honorable and faithful service. Sorry for your loss.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Before we continue, we cut the Kriya ribbon, the symbol of the tear in the fabric of a family's life that occurs when a loss takes place. Fabric can be torn, it can be resewn and rewoven, but you always know that a tear occurred. You always know that there was a sense of loss. Grief and healing, grief heals, but we have a continuing memory that inspires us and guides us even as the sense of loss does heal. I'm going to ask each of you to take the bottom part in both hands and just grip towards you. Just a bit. That's fine. Okay, that's fine. We're here on this day in these very strange circumstances that we find ourselves in. Our desire would be to go to each other and hug and hold and touch and be close. That's not possible under these kind of very strange circumstances we're in. At the same time, on this day, which seems to be an end to summer, or at least a very strong transition into fall, we're very aware of the changing of the seasons and the changing of time, and a sense of loss and mourning. We're here to pay tribute to Ed Samuels, Eddie, to honor his memory, even in the midst of a sense of loss. We look to tradition, to text, to writings for guidance and for support. From Psalm 121, Esa Enai El Harim, Me'ayin Yavo Ezri Me'im Adonai Oseh Shamayim Va'aretz. I will lift up my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from the Eternal One, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. Behold, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. The Eternal One is your guardian. Adonai is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. Adonai will guard you from all harm. The Eternal One will guard your soul. You're going out and you're coming in from this time forth and forever. We turn to 23rd Psalm. And let us read, believe together, yes. Adonai ro'i lo echsar bindo jesher yarbitzeni. Amei menachot yanachaleni nafshi oshavev. On your pamphlet, let's read and say together. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. As I said, we are very aware of the changing of the seasons, and we know that the warmth of summer is followed by the fall and the cold of winter. But then that's followed by the promise of spring. So too, in dark times in our own lives, when we have loss and we mourn, those times are followed by the warmth of memory and the blessing of continuing life. The words of Ecclesiastes, for everything there is a season, a time for every experience under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot that which is planted, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to discard, a time to tear, a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. As I read this poem, if you'll respond after each sentence, we will remember him. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we will remember him. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we will remember him. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we will remember him. In the rustling of leaves and the beauty of autumn, we will remember him. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we will remember him. When we are weary and in need of strength, we will remember him. When we are lost and sick at heart, we will remember him. When we have joys we yearn to share, we will remember him. So long as we live, he too shall live, for he is a part of us as we will remember him. And so on this day, we pay tribute to the beloved memory, to know that you were touched and loved and were guided by Eddie Samuels, who was this terrific guy, loved by everyone. He in turn loved people. He was the consummate salesman, creating friendships and relationships, although living primarily for his family. As a devoted father, I also spoke with Sharon and have her memories as well. An uncomplicated man, but truly enjoyed life. You'll hear more from Steve and from Scott as they share their memories with you as well. Steve, want to speak from here?
I like to think that I am a good man, a good husband, a good father, a good brother, and a good friend. I owe all of these traits to my father. He taught me to be the man that I am today, and for that I am eternally grateful. My dad was always there for me growing up through some very challenging times for both of us, and he always supported me in any way that he could. He was so proud of me when I graduated from law school, and yet when I told him that I wanted to quit and sell real estate after less than 1 year, he supported my decision and provided encouragement without judgment. He taught me to be a diehard Cubs and Bears fan and supported me with my crazy decision to buy a dilapidated A-frame across from Wrigley Field and build a rooftop business with my partners. He was so proud of that accomplishment and was rewarded with a seat to a game anytime that he wanted to go. But I think that he was most proud of the family man that I had become. His family was the most important thing to my dad, and he loved Kathy, Eric, and Melanie so very much. These last 4.5 years could have been miserable for him. My dad was an active and independent man until he was almost 90 years old, but he never complained when he was physically unable to be independent anymore and moved to Lincolnwood Place. I will cherish these last years that we had together. Prior to the COVID pandemic, I was able to visit with my dad at least 3 times a week. I brought him all of his favorite treats to eat. We played gin. He let me win. We watched ball games. We talked about the books that he read and politics, but mostly he just wanted to talk about how I was doing, how my work was, and above all else, how my family was, and about all of their accomplishments. He was just so proud. I will miss you forever, Dad. Rest in peace.
When I was thinking of what I was going to say today, and I purposely didn't prepare anything because I wanted to try to speak from the heart and remember some of the things. And you all know that when Dad, I was 4 years old, he married my mom and adopted me. And you know, I obviously I don't remember that specific day, but what I do remember is throughout the course of my life, you know, he treated me no different and loved me as much as Steve and Sharon, and I cherish that because, you know, as a parent now, I know how difficult that can be. But he was very unbiased and very loving, and as Steve was saying, always cared about our kids and was always inquisitive and was such a humble and kind man. And everybody that I talked to through his passing said what a good man he was, and he truly was just a genuinely great human being, and we'll miss him so much. And the other things I was thinking about are what are some of the most memorable times we had together, and I kept thinking about mush. I don't know why that kept coming up. And for those of you that don't know mush, and maybe we'll celebrate with a mush feast to celebrate Eddie's life. It was probably the most disgusting dish for dinner that you could ever imagine eating, but for whatever reason, it was a tradition in our family that we would come together and take Crisco oil and pan fry hamburgers and take the oil as gravy and then put it over hamburgers and peas and potatoes, and then on top of it we would take ketchup and just sprinkle ketchup all over and mush it all together. And that was a tradition that we would have every year, would be mush. So you know, that was such a great memory, and again, he was just such a kind and you know, humble human being, and we'll miss him so much for that. And again, he loved our kids, and he was always very inquisitive about my business and always reminded me to be conservative and not to take risks and not to be too aggressive. And you know, he was just so engaged with that. You know, one of the most recent memories that I have was the time that he had come to Jensen's bar mitzvah, I think, and he was engaged in a very active discussion with Maddie's father, and you know, they were arguing about and discussing politics, and Maddie's and Eddie looked over to Maddie's dad and said, "Steve, will you please just be more kind?" And I'll never forget that. That's not what he said, but it was a heated discussion. And I can't say it's not appropriate here, but it was a very, but anyways, we'll miss him terribly. And I know Steve and Sharon and myself have some great memories. I love you guys very much. And I cherish the memories we had growing up together. And we'll miss our dad. And, you know, we'll cherish his memories. So thank you.
Thank you, Scott. One of the things that was shared with me was that certainly his love for his children, his love for his grandchildren, but also nephews and nieces and everyone he knew, he was always everyone's favorite. And that he was so beloved because of just his genuine nature, his uncomplicated nature, and just being such a fountain of joy. He will be remembered and recalled as we enter into a new year, a year that teaches us remembrance. His presence will be felt at the tables that we share now virtually, but hopefully soon when we're all able to get together as well. But his presence will be there. His chair will be empty, but his spiritual presence will always be part of those gatherings and those memories. Oh God, you give us loved ones and make them the strength of our life, the light of our eyes. They depart and leave us bereft on a lonely way, but you are the living fountain from which our healing flows. To you, the stricken look for comfort, the sorrow laden for consolation. Oh God, we see life as through windows that open on eternity. We see that love endures and the soul endures, as you, O God, endure forever. We see that the years are more than grass that withers, more than flowers that fade. They weave a timeless pattern in a world that is the dwelling place of your love and glory. if you'll carefully stand for the memorial prayers. El Malay Rachamim, Shochem Bamramim, Hamitzei Menuchan Nechonat Takat Kanfei Hashchina, Im Kedoshim Utohorim Kezohar Harakia, Masirim Et Nishmat Yisrael Ben Yosef, Shahalach La'olam Mo, Ba'al Harachamim Istarehu B'Seter Kanafav La'olamim, Vitzror Bitzror HaChayim Et Nishmato, Adonai Hu Nachalato, V'yanuach B'Shalom Al Mishkavo V'Nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Edward A. Samuels, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in your eternal presence, within the shadow of your wings. Let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance, may he rest in peace, as we say, Amen. O God, help us to understand that grief and love go hand in hand, that the pain which loss inflicts is the measure of a love stronger than death. Though we cry in the bereavement of our hearts, may we be like children who know that their parent is near, who cling unafraid to the trusted hand. In this spirit, O God, do we commit all that is precious to us into your keeping. Repeat the words hallowed by generations as we say the Kaddish together, the back of your pamphlet. It's joined together. Yikadal, Yikadash, Shemei Rabbah. Yalma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon uvyomechon. Chayei decho Beit Yisrael. Bagala uvizman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevorach leolam almei almaya. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'tromam v'yitnaseh. V'tadar v'yitalev v'yithalau. Shemei dekudesha barichu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechamata. Da'miram bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya. V'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav. Huya aseh shalom. Aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Be the source of peace, grant peace to all who mourn, comfort to all who are bereaved. Amen. I'm going to ask the grandchildren to come forward, if you would. I'm going to put a little bit of this earth from the Mount of Olives from Jerusalem in your hand. Just place it on top of the casket. Be very careful. It could be a little slippery.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, the gentleman from the cemetery are going to lower his casket and place the cover of the vault on. If you wish to participate in the burial, the custom is to place 3 measures of earth into the grave without handing the shovel from person to person. For those of you going to participate, we do require, the cemetery requires you have gloves on, which we'll pass out momentarily. Memorial contributions to the Jewish United Fund would be appreciated, and for those of you online, that information is on our website, and for those of you here, it's on the service folder. In a couple moments, we are going to turn the volume off on the live stream, so you don't have to hear the tractor, but you'll watch everything. Once again, for those of you who wish to participate, in a moment you can come forward, otherwise you may return to your cars. I just can't hand it to you, but it's over here, okay? It's not a sign of disrespect. Very beautiful. Thank you. After you're done shoveling, you have a garbage can here. You can just put your gloves in here. We also have hand sanitizer. Folks, you can go around to the other side of the mound. You can have a line here as well.
Or they say it and it really wasn't true. There's a lot of revisionist history about this case. Does the how long does the information on your site with the George stay on?
It's gonna be forever, but it's like 90 days. But we have to be able to put it in the first 15, we just take Ladies and gentlemen, in a moment, gentlemen from the cemetery are going to close the grave. If you wish to witness that, please remain. Otherwise, I would suggest to return to your cars. Please stay safe.